This is Sergeant Tim Selbrede from 2nd Ranger Battalion, and you are watching the Operators Debrief. Oh, hello there. This is Sergeant Selbrede from 2nd Ranger Battalion, and you are watching the Operators Debrief. Stay tuned. You should be looking at the camera, not the screen. Hey folks, this is Tim.
Sir.
The first thing I did was clap. Hey guys, this is Sergeant Tim Selbrede with 2nd Ranger Battalion, and you are watching the Operator Debrief. That's corporate. What's up? This is Sergeant Tim Selbrede from 2nd Ranger Battalion, and you are watching the Operators Debrief. This is Sergeant Tim Selbrede from 2nd Ranger Battalion, and you are watching the Operators Debrief. It's Operator Debrief. There are two Operators debriefing each other. Hey, do you want to get debriefed? Yeah, I do too. Let's go do this. I'm Sergeant Tim Selbrede, 2nd Ranger Battalion, Operator Debrief. Let's do this.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Operators Debrief. I got a super exciting episode today. I even got my swag going on for the first time. And I have one of my best Ranger buddies in the fucking world, Tim. He was a Ranger medic. He's doing some good shit too, which we'll talk about the stuff he's doing later on. Not as cool as my shit, but well, I'm not gonna lie, it is cooler than my shit. But still, you know, happy to have him here. I wanted him on for a while, but I wanted him to be here in person. One of my best friends and a great human being, done a lot for the Ranger community. If you haven't already, can you please, if you're watching on YouTube, can you please like and subscribe? If you hit the little button, put that thing in a chokehold, choke it out, and that way anytime we have any new stuff coming up, you'll be notified. We have a lot of Rangers coming up, some Grenadier Raiders, some dudes who jumped to Panama. I got some Somalian, or guys who were in the Somalia conflict with Task Force Ranger. A lot of great Americans, also Ranger or operators from other communities. We're also on other platforms such as Spotify and anywhere else that you can watch podcasts. So I appreciate you guys being here today, and I appreciate your support to this point. And right now, I'm super excited to welcome Tim here. Just so fucking crazy because this is like this is one of my good buddies, and it's just awesome having him here to begin with. Yeah, man. And it's soft week this week, so he's down here running business anyways. So how's it been going, brother?
Busy, man. Yeah, just on the road all the time. Just doing work for a firearms manufacturer now, Maximum Defense, and keeps me really busy. I do kind of transitioning from the law enforcement and military sales and training side to marketing, which is kind of interesting. To kind of do marketing instead of sales. So a lot of that involves a lot of like going on these shows, going on these demos and road trips.
Yeah, brother. I've seen you on a couple shows. I was like, man, that's my boy.
I haven't stopped moving since SHOT Show. Yeah, it's been nonstop. It's been just all gas and no brakes.
It's impressive, man.
Yeah.
But again, that's like I'm sitting there and I just love when I see like a Ranger succeeding in his next, the next business in life that he chooses, man.
I'm really good at filling up, man. Yeah. Really good at filling up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One of the things that makes me really excited about having him, and then I'm going to let him tell his story, is I've always felt invincible for two reasons when I was on target. One, well, besides the fact that I was surrounded by a bunch of, giants, but one is I was pretty sure that there was very few things that the enemy could do to me that my Ranger medic couldn't take care of me, and wasn't going to get me on that bird. If I had any other concerns, it'd be when I was in a hospital somewhere and they messed something up. But I knew for a fact I was going to make it off that objective because my medic would do whatever he had to do to keep me alive. And one of the things that makes that special to me is, as a Ranger who became a JTAC, I always I didn't view it so much as, I'm going to kill all these bad guys, but when someone engaged us or they were trying to overwhelm us with firepower, I felt it wasn't like a sense of predatory, like, I'm going to kill these guys. It's like, I am not going to let you kill my boys. So I always felt this like bond, with the medic community. And so I'm really excited. It's the first time I've been able to just like legitimately sit here. And for those who don't understand, you're like, oh, well, that's your best friend. Well, back when we were running and gunning, it was just one of those things where you did your thing, you came home, you hung out, everybody was doing the same thing. We were going out once, twice a night. I mean, easily in 4 months, putting well over 100 ops.
Especially before 2010.
Yeah. And you just didn't talk about it. It wasn't even a professional thing. Everybody did it, you know what I mean? And you just looked like a goon. If you talked about something cool you did, it was just like, oh yeah, cool, man, I remember my first beer. So it's cool having my buddies on here, and they start telling stories, and I'm looking at them like, why didn't you ever tell me this? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's because we never talked about it. But yeah, brother, again, I'm so stoked about having you here. Let's start out with your origin, man. Like, what made you decide to even go Ranger Regiment?
What made me join the Army first? Really, I kind of long lineage of my family members serving in the military. I think we've got documents and paperwork that puts them. A couple people we have Revolution era paperwork, not a lot, and we're not even 100% sure how authentic it is for what it's worth. But we do definitely have solid. Both paperwork and artifacts from family from like the Civil War all the way up. And so I kind of always knew that I was probably destined to join the military, but what branch and what job I had no idea. My dad is Air Force. My kind of everybody in my parents' generation era, they were mostly Air Force and Navy. I don't think we've had any. My uncle was in Vietnam in the Army, and we had one family member killed in Normandy. In the second ID, yeah, he fought for the Canadians and Brits first, and then when the U.S. joined, he joined the United States Army to go fight, and then landed in Normandy and died. I think on like.
Was he a pilot or?
No, he was a ground pounder. I think he died on D
bro,
plus like 15.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, we repatriated his remains back to Michigan like many years ago, but I kind of always thought it was going to happen, and then 9/11 of course happened, and it was happening, and so. I joined in 05. I graduated high school in 03, but I joined in 05. And the Ranger decision, I mean, I know this doesn't sound silly, but Black Hawk Down came out when I was in high school. So, I mean, that came out, what, 2000, 2001? Like, right, it came out before 9/11, I think.
I want to say 2000, yeah, 2000, I think.
Yeah, and I remember that movie made a huge impression on me because I went to a very, very, very small high school in the middle of absolutely nowhere in Southern California, and for whatever reason, we bred Rangers out of that.
Really?
If you're listening, Michael Edblad went to high school with us. Kyle Smith went to high school with us.
Oh, wow.
Hooper. We had, I think, 5 or 6 dudes go to regiment from our tiny school. And so it kind of was like all these things stacked up. I was like, dude, like a lot of dudes that I know went to this cool guy unit. They're doing like cool guy stuff. I didn't really know what they were doing, because I was a civilian. Before the Army, I was a firefighter for the Forest Service, and
that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was bored in between class one day at college, and this Army recruiter started talking to me. I'm 19, and I'm like obsessed with Band of Brothers like everybody else, right? And I think the coolest job would be like an airborne medic. That's all I wanted to do, is just be an airborne reservist medic. And he's like, why don't you go Ranger Regiment? I have no idea what that is. And Black Hawk Down, yeah, I want to do that. And
because it looks so cool.
It looks cool, yeah. It looks cool.
Hollywood's amazing.
Yeah, right, yeah. And then, I signed up for the Army, made my parents very upset, and then I left my dad's birthday, 2005.
Oh wow!
So I joined on July 10th. Yeah.
And so you get in, and back then you still did RIP, right? You had RIP.
Yeah, I was RIP. Yeah, I graduated. I want to say like Cinco de Mayo 06. It sounds like
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, I believe it was that weekend.
Now you were still Black Beret, correct?
No, I was Tan Beret. Yeah.
Tan
So
Beret.
I didn't graduated. Yeah, so I graduated in 06. So yeah, we were definitely Black. I mean, I know for a fact I had a Tan Beret in the regiment, but the Black Beret in the Army. Through AIT and all that crap.
Okay. Wow. So the medic thing. So if you don't mind, because I always brag about our medics, and like we are able to serve with some amazing dudes like pararescuemen.
Yeah.
From the Air Force, and I mean those are some awesome dudes. And if there's any of them out there, like it doesn't even have to be war stories. If I can get some PJs who served over in Alaska, please let me know. because the stories from those boys in Alaska, oh my God.
Yeah, I think people underappreciate PJs. They're easy to make fun of, and I'm definitely guilty of it. Sorry, guys.
Well, because we make fun of everybody.
Yeah,
but we're a brotherhood.
And I know you make fun of us back. That's the game, right?
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, I think PJs get, I want to say a bad rap because they're associated with the Air Force, because I want to say the Air Force should have a bad rap.
Yeah.
At all. I just think when people think of PJ, they're not thinking of like one of the most capable medical practitioners to walk the face of the earth. Like Ranger medics and PJs and 18 Deltas are God's gift to the battlefield.
And the reason I brought that up is because I know how special a PJ is, and I know how special an 18 Delta is, but still I didn't feel any more. I felt more safe with the Ranger medic. So do you mind kind of talking kind of like you obviously you go through RIP or RASP now. RASP may be a little different, but RASP or RIP, and then kind of your pipeline from there before you even get to regiment.
Yeah. So I went to talk to the recruiter. I wanted an option 40 contract. He told me no. I said, cool, I'll go talk to the Navy. He said, wait a minute, give you an option 40 contract, right? I went to basic at Sandhill, Alpha 247, what's up? 4th Platoon Death Dealers.
Extreme! Medics are death dealers.
Yeah, right? And then, my whole platoon's like hoax. We're at Fort
Well, you don't want to deal death, you're platoon.
Yeah, right? And so I graduated in 05, fall of 05, went to Fort Sam Houston for a few months for medic school. I say medic not to take away from anything that anyone...
It was different back then.
It's in what?
Like I could have taught medics back then. They're a lot better nowadays.
It's mostly, and this is 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot has changed. Like
yes,
we can talk about, but back then they were really mostly like EMTs that were like advanced EMTs and give a handful of drugs, but had to follow Army doctrine of like slit trenches and the temperature of your food. Yeah. The regular Army medic is responsible for so much more than a Ranger Regiment medic is, as far as like the daily activities of life. That's not to say that we wouldn't have the same responsibilities had they arise. But
doing like migraines and shit.
No, I mean like
because you guys suck at that. Because you guys just make us drink water.
Yeah. Well, we used to make you guys take too much Tylenol and Advil. We probably should stop doing that. But blowing out kidneys. There's nothing wrong with regular Army, big Army medics, especially if they belong to a really good medical unit that continues to push medical like continuation training. But Ranger medics are, the best way I can describe them are like micro PAs. Like they're like diet physicians.
That's what I tell people.
Yeah. It's like, I think SOCM is somewhere between 60 to 70 college units worth of information shoved down your face in like 6.5 months. It's the most difficult thing I've ever done academically in my life.
Really?
But so I graduated regular medic school, went back to, I was a holdover for a court-martial. I was a witness to a court-martial. That was kind of interesting. Getting cross-examined as an E3. And so I go back to Benning, go to jump school, do my lawn dart shit out there, and then run up the hill, chase after the box truck, get up there and just get my dick smashed on the blacktop for 4 weeks. I was lucky that I was only in like RIP hold for a week, and then I got in the first class that I was able to PT test for, and just tried to survive Sergeant Herbert. Sergeant Herbert, wherever you are. Bad mother, man. Yeah, it was crazy, man. And then I graduated. RIP. Then I was stuck at Regiment for like 6 months in SOCM hold.
That's what I was gonna say. Because after that's different for medics. Like,
and they changed it. They have like a pre-SOCM now.
Okay.
So they don't just make them go like count blue rocks out in the middle of the woods, to pass the time. At the time, I hated it, right? Because you're an E3 without a tab that doesn't have a SOCM cert yet, and you are very fireable, right? Like you are very fireable, and it's yours to fuck up, right? And they do every day. And I damn sure almost did a few times and a little bit. Sorry, Sergeant Montgomery. I know I put you through some shit. Colonel Cotwall, you're a genius. We did a lot of really awesome stuff where we got to do like medical coverages. So I got to do a lot of RIP classes and a lot of pre-ranger classes. Yeah. So by the time I actually got through SOCM in 2-275, there was a lot of guys that I had already met.
Are you able to explain SOCM, or is that kind of...
Yeah, no, SOCM, so the Special Operations Combat Medic course is essentially the 18 Deltas course, but it's half of it.
Which 18 Delta, for those viewers who aren't in the military, is what the Green Beret medics go through, or
Yeah,
they're 18 deltas.
Yeah, the 18 series is going to be our the SF community, and then every 18 series MOS is a specific job. Delta being medic, and the program's about 12 months. Don't quote me on it because I know things change, curriculums change every day. But long and short is back in 2006 to 7, it was still Rangers, SEALs, MARSOC, SARCs. I think they might have gone by a different name back then, but that's essentially what they became, was the SARCs that we have today. Civil affair medics, 160th flight medics, and then you get some.
They
Yeah,
go there too?
yeah. We had everybody but PJs.
Okay.
The PJs a long time before I went through SOCM had taken their ball and went home back to Lackland Air Force Base. They didn't want to hang out with the Army anymore. And since then, the SEALs, from what I understand, NSW has also taken their people out of SOCM, and I think they do their own thing on the West Coast right now.
Okay.
I can't quite remember, but yeah, the medical program is broken down into like blocks, right? Like the first, crawl, sprint, run kind of a thing where it's med fundamentals. It's 8th grade math. You're trying to remember how to divide fractions and multiply fractions and convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, to Celsius, kilograms per cent, and back and forth, right? And you can't write any of that down. You have to memorize the formulas. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fail 8th grade math. Like, this is what's gonna stop me from going to my unit is fractions, right? Mm-hmm. I managed to make it through that, and then you start getting into a lot more intense, blocks of training. Everything from antimicrobial wound therapy treatments at a much deeper level than like, okay, just keep it clean. Like, all right, gram-negative bacteria, gram-positive bacteria, types of drugs you would use for those. You do a lot of clinical stuff, a lot of pathology stuff, and then you get into like the trauma blocks where you start learning like more of your surgical skills, whether that's surgical crikes, chest tubes, ligating mesenteric arteries that might have like if you get an eviscerated artery, what do we do with that? How do you stop that bleeding, kind of stuff? And most of it was live tissue. It was just a lot of work. It was. I know it kind of sounds like I'm being a little, ridiculous when I say this. We studied 3 to 4 hours every single night. Like, you got out of that class, you had no other way to pass that class.
Yeah, so you're basically the same as someone going through medical school and college.
Yeah, and that's why that program is a gentleman's program. No one's yelling at you. No one's screaming at you. You ain't doing push-ups in medical school. You have enough shit going on. Everyone's on a first-name basis. You're an E3 calling an E6 George and shit. We had a couple E7s in our class. We always kept that military bearing. If we had a sergeant first class, we always call him sergeant. Yeah. Tell us stop. I'm like, no, you're sergeant. We're only E7 in our class. Yeah. But yeah, you'd have everybody from an E3 to an E7 as students together. And your grades are depending on one another. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I love it. Just like you just see the smile when you talk about stuff like that, is because, like I said, I've always felt safe and impressed. And I know that there's other things you do when you get out, and guys go to like they'll work at like ER units.
Yeah.
And where like Detroit and.
Yeah, I actually worked at Tampa General Hospital.
Really?
I did my rotations at Tampa General. I delivered like.
And how long is that?
It's a month. So you do a month in Tampa. So they've changed it, right? There's obviously, I think there's New York City and Detroit, but when I went through, it was Richmond, Virginia, and Tampa. And for time context, when I was in Tampa for my rotations, the guys that were in Virginia were there for the Virginia Tech shooting. So that's when we were out doing our clinicals, during that shit. So you do 2 weeks at the hospital and 2 weeks working for Hillsborough County Fire. I'm sure things have probably altered a little bit, but yeah, you do everything from the burn ward, which is awful. Labor and delivery, which is the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life, was deliver babies. Coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Coolest thing ever. There's nothing like it. It's difficult to explain when the population of the room you're in goes up by 1.
Yeah.
Like, what? We have an extra person now, so it's very weird, right? It's an amazing thing to see, especially when you see so much like death. Yeah. It's really cool to see all that other side of it. But yeah, I was really fortunate to get to do a lot of really cool things there.
Yeah. And it's crazy, and the Ranger Medic's always been phenomenal, and I can't remember exactly when this happened because I can't remember if I was out of regiment or I was at least already done. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was already out. But I want to say that Ranger Medics were the first ones to conduct blood transfusion in the middle of a gunfight.
I believe you're right.
And they were like, Rangers were having to switch out, and do in the middle of like this huge gunfight. And
Yeah.
it's like we proved that it could be done.
Yeah, I believe you're right. A lot has changed. Like when I went through AIT, again, this is still like basic stuff. We were told, if you get a guy with multi-system trauma, give him two 14-gauge IVs in both arms and send it. That kills people, as we've discovered, right? And so even when I was in the regiment, we knew that was bad. But we were still given like saline or Hexan or head of starch, which is like a volumizer to keep you guys alive when you start like bleeding out. Found out that those don't work very well. We were all trained on blood transfusions. I personally have never done one. I've seen them done 100 times at this point. I've just never stuck them. It's not complicated. It's not rocket surgery. But it's amazing, and it is the best way that you can put the right stuff back in the person that you just to replenish them. And so Ranger Regiment does, not just Ranger Regiment, a lot of other units do like a walking blood bank. So they pre-identify certain blood types in the platoons. If they have the need for it, they activate the walking blood bank. Guys come in, eat some Skittles, and get tubed up, and they put it right back into your buddy. And it saves their lives. They're also using a drug called TXA. Which I did not personally use when I was in, but I know from a lot of the data and research, it's like a miracle drug for exsanguination and I think TBIs. I might be misquoting myself here or speaking, but yeah, I believe Regiment was the first guys to do blood banks on target. I mean, I think it was with JMAL for what it's worth. I think they were working with them when that was going down, but yeah.
So when you're watching movies like Platoon and stuff, and they're like, someone's injured and they just start throwing water down their throat, does it drive you nuts?
No, I mean the medical stuff on TV that drives me nuts is usually the stuff that's like modern crap, like anything that's on like mainstream TV. Like I can't watch any firefighter TV show that's on like CBS. I hate it. Can't watch it. The only good firefighting movies ever made is Ladder 49 and Only the Brave. And shout out to Brendan McDonough, one of my good friends.
You knew those guys, didn't you?
I didn't know him before the accident. I met Brendan, who was he was in my wedding after the fact, and Brendan and I remain extremely good friends to this day. But he's the only survivor from that incident.
Because you became a hot shot, did you not?
Yeah, I was a hot shot after at the Ranger Battalion.
Do you mind explaining that real quick? Because I think that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, it's so I was a fireman before and after the Army, but I didn't fight fire in houses. I did for a little bit in Washington State, and I hated it because you get one fire in 8 months, and it's like just a trash can in someone's bedroom. Versus like when you work for the U.S. Forest Service or the Bureau of Land Management, the other BLM, or like Fish and Feathers, those guys, we fight fires that are like the size of counties, and you just fight it with an axe, chainsaw, and maybe a couple helicopters if you're lucky on your division. And it's a great job. It's the best transition I think you could ever do, going from Ranger Regiment to a hotshot crew, a Type 1 hotshot crew in the U.S. Forest Service system. Instead of working with 50 dickheads, you're only working with 20. And it is just like in the
That's
platoon.
a bunch of bad dudes.
It's a bunch of bad mothers, man. Everyone
have to go through like a selection phase and stuff.
Not so much a selection, but so smoke jumpers and hotshots are different. Okay. Smoke jumpers sure have they have a nasty selection process, and they turn down very experienced hotshots every day.
Really?
Oh yeah, for like 3 slots. They'll have 400 guys show up for like 3 slots.
Damn.
So hotshot crews are going to be the most elite wildland firefighting resource that isn't like a smoke jumper. I kind of compare like smoke jumpers to be like your tier 1 SMUs, and because they have their own culture and their own way of doing things, and they're all made up of ex-hotshots, which are your Rangers. Yeah. Like your Ranger Regiment is your hotshot corps. Okay. 20-man people, 6 chainsaws, or 6 guys on 3 saw teams, and everyone else has got shovels and axes, and you just follow the side of the fire and cut it out. Hotshots are really big on backfires and burns, which makes them like that much more of a resource. And then hotshot crews can break off individual guys that are all plussed up on qualifications to go augment other operations. So like me being a helicopter crew member, I go out and do like helicopter ops for like large fires, like whether it's troop transports in and out of a fire, or like sling load Bambi buckets for like water drops, like coordinating like that kind of stuff. Or just slinging trash out sometimes, whatever it is. And then you might have a guy that's like, oh, I'm a bulldozer heavy equipment boss, and his job is to just, all right, bulldozer, follow me, and he just walks everywhere, and the bulldozer follows him.
But if you fuck up, people die, to include your own team.
Yeah, it's very consequential. I mean, like firefighters die mostly of heart attacks nationwide. On the average, there's about 150 firemen die a year. on the job. Almost all of them are volunteers, and almost all of them die of a heart attack. The second biggest killer for firefighters, just in general, is like car accidents. For wildland firefighters, and it's been a while since I've looked at the recent data because a lot of shit's happened, but it's generally falling trees, vehicle accidents, and fires kill these guys because you're in apex shape. Very rarely do you have like a hot shot and like go down with a cardiovascular incident, versus like, you know, Joe Schmuckatelli that lives in Kansas that's showing up after eating like 7 kielbasa's and he's trying to like drag a 4.5-inch hose to a fucking, he croaks out, right? Dies in the snow somewhere.
I don't know if you know this, but I used to have to fight fires in an aircraft carrier.
Oh, really?
Have to put on all that ensemble.
I forgot you were in the Navy, weren't you?
Yeah, for 4 years. Yeah, before. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And I almost died. I felt like I was gonna die every time, but it was fucking horrible. Because
I love it.
You only get like 15 minutes on the holes. You got to switch out because oh, dude, especially down in the bottom of a ship.
I can't imagine because all that heat stays in there,
God,
and then
miserable.
It stays in there, and then it heats up itself and it feeds on it because you all that iron and steel. Yeah, no
you can't quit because then the whole ship will go down.
Everyone dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by this time, before you get to your unit, how long have you been in?
I think it took me 2 full calendar years to get through the pipeline to get assigned to a platoon.
Okay.
And
so are you spec 4 by that time?
I got to 275. Like 3 calendar weeks shy of my 2-year mark because I was in E3 for like 3 weeks there, and suddenly I was able to throw in the sham shield and hide a little bit more. Put that on there. No, tab check. Are you sure I don't have my shit? Oh yeah.
So what's it like for you, man? You show up, you're like, you got to be in your mind thinking you're just this bad motherfucker.
I got a good story when I show up, man. This guy's never gonna. I really want to name drop him, and it's not a bad thing. And I'm gonna name drop.
You can do first name if you don't want to.
Oh, I'll do first name. Everyone will know who it is though, but it's okay because it's a great story. And if you're watching this, I hope you remember this because this is the funniest. Like, I just got to battalion story. So you get to replacement company at Fort Lewis, and they get on the green bus, and they drop you off basically at the battalion aid station. Well, back in the old compound before they bulldozed it and rebuilt it.
Oh, so you got to go to the old compound.
Oh yeah, I lived in the H barracks, man. I lived in C-Co barracks, B-Co, or A-Co barracks, HHC, just not B-Co. Because when we stood up Deco, we didn't have a home. Yeah. So they all right, that wing was for first platoon, this wing is for second platoon, and this, so you have like a whole company spread off like.
I remember when Deco first came out. Yeah.
Yeah, Deco I think now is like an augment unit, basically, or like an attachment thing. Yeah. But so I get there, and I might be like one of only 2 dudes I think that was coming in on that class. So there wasn't like a huge group of people to like meet us. I remember like my fucking duffel bag's still on the curb by the dumpsters at the old battalion aid station, and Bernie.
Oh, Bernie Felino.
You said
the angry
you
Canadian.
were not gonna give out last names.
The angry Canadian.
Yeah, so he comes up and he looks right at me, and he just, "Are you a medic?" Yeah, Roger, first sergeant. And he's just like, "All right, draw a gun. You're coming with me to Iraq." And I'm like, "Huh?" Like, I don't even know where the bathrooms are, first sergeant. Like, get a gun. Hey, where do I go get a gun? Where's HHC?
Dude, I have the craziest
right? And he's just like,
story.
He's like, get your shit. You're gonna palletize with us. You're going with me to Iraq. Fuck yeah. Yeah, I am. Yeah. And I run.
Inside, you're like, oh shit.
Well, I mean, I was really wanting to go. I wanted to go because by the time I got there, I'd seen dudes I went to work with.
People had to worry about a month or two.
Dude, I know dudes that were getting there and getting gone, especially in 3rd Battalion back in the day. But yeah, I walked back into the battalion aid station, and Tony Garcia was our battalion senior medic at the time. And he's just like, he called me Selbrede. He could never say my last name, Selbrede. He's like, Selbrede. Just this tough Puerto Rican dude, man. Like, he was like a boxer too. Amazing medic, amazing NCO. And I was like, hey, Sergeant,
Rocco was there still too, right? Or was Rocco already gone?
Rocco?
Yeah.
Oh, Rocky. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He was still there.
Still there.
Yeah, it's the same guy I think you're talking about. Right, going there, and John Slevin was our PA at the time. I think Cord Cunningham was our battalion surgeon at the time, and Tony Garcia was our senior medic. And I walked in there, I'm like, Sergeant, sirs, First Sergeant Falanio just told me to get my shit. And they're like, you're not going. Like, oh, what? And they're like, yeah, you're setting up a new company. I'm like, oh, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And then I stood up Deco with 275. So I was the first medic assigned to Deco.
Oh, that shit's hilarious.
When there's probably only about 10 of us. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I gotta tell you real quick, because I totally forget this sometimes. But one time, we were still in Afghanistan, and I can't remember if Iraq had already kicked off yet. It's so many goddamn deployments. But he had a buddy who was in a civilian agency, and all their dudes were getting hit. And it was just a couple Americans with a whole bunch of Afghanis, and they were getting hit hard by overpowered by 200-300 plus dudes coming across the border. And he asked the commander, "Hey, can I go out and support?" Because he got a hold of him. He was like, "Hey, man, I need help."
Mm-hmm.
And he asked if he could support him, and he blessed off. And he came up to me, I think it was E4. Yeah, E4. Tap spec 4. FO, not JTAC yet, but FO. He's like, "Hey, Chavez, you want to go with me? We're gonna go to this location, and we're gonna be about 300 meters in front of them. And as soon as people start crossing the border, I want you to start lighting them up." And I'm like, "Roger that." I mean, it's Bernie. You know what I mean? Well, I'll follow him through hell.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
when he was 2-7 at Deco.
But I was like, and this is when we first started up, restarted up the recce. So it wasn't with the reconnaissance company, but it was the recce teams, and so he gave me like a man dress and stuff to, look all to fit in.
Khaki.
Like I'm gonna fit in with everything else. But anyway, so we're getting all set up, and I'm just thinking to myself like, dude, I'm either gonna be a damn hero and kill a whole bunch of freaking bad guys, or I'm still gonna end up in the Ranger Handbook dead because it's just two of us, and we were gonna be way in front of everybody else.
Yeah.
We were on the flight line, and as the birds was coming in, I think it was McChrystal, got wind of it, and he was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Fuck no."
Yeah.
And we got stood down.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like, "Negative. I'm not sending 2 Rangers out there by themselves."
We
but
just
was
said 3.
Yeah.
But we were saying 3 would have been different. Yeah, one more would have been fine.
But Felina was like, "Hey man, you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Fuck it, let's do it." And it's just funny. It's almost kind of one of those whose car are we taking?
Yeah.
I was like, "Fuck it, we're gonna go. We're gonna go."
It,
and I'll never forget that moment, man. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. So go ahead. So then you start with Deco. What was that like? And you got some history in that, actually.
Yeah, Deco. Deco's best company Ranger Regiment ever came up with, especially the 2nd Battalion Deco. Leroy Petrie, baby.
I'm not going to disagree with that. But
okay. Yeah, right, I'm sure.
Well, okay, so first of all...
In the comments section, everyone's like, 2 Bravo, Deco.
First of all, before that deployment, Petrie was an ACO with me.
Yeah.
It was a deployment after that when he got the Medal of Honor, so...
So we got... so I got to battalion right when everyone was going. So I was on rear D for the deployment that we lost Kessler and I think Libby on. And we had... and if I say their ranks at the time, this is what their ranks were. So Sergeant Major Reese Teagle, now... At the time, First Sergeant Teagle was our first sergeant, and then we had John Chung as our first commanding officer. Yeah, with the most perfect hair ever.
Doesn't he do? He tattoos now, right?
Major, Colonel Chung.
I think he does a tattoo shop. Am I wrong?
Probably.
Are you sure?
Probably. No, I mean I don't know, but
I want to say
he was
one of our Asian officers.
Really?
I'm pretty sure he's got
this
a
guy had
tattoo
the most
shop
perfect hair ever. We
I
went to
know
NTC.
I know what you're talking about. Oh, I know.
Yeah, it was just we took his helmet off and be like, oh, like damn, dude, some of that suavecito my way, man. But so those were our first, 03 and 01, and then sergeant at the time, Chris Molinax was the first platoon sergeant because really only 11 of us, and we had basically Sergeant Steve McKenna. Zach Caldwell, and a bunch of privates. And so we just got our dick smoked for the first 3 months that we were there because everyone was gone. But it was really great because we got to do a lot of ranges and a lot of one-on-one shit with Steve McKenna came from 2 Bravo and fought in the Battle of Veterans Hill, which if you can get some guys from 2 Bravo that did Veterans Hill, you know the story.
Yeah.
And so getting Stevie Mac to pass down that knowledge to us was... I really think, and I know I'm biased because I was in 1st Platoon, but I really think that's what made 1st Platoon just so capable. And so we did a lot of training, a lot of jumps, and then the battalion rotated back. I'll never forget Colonel Kurilla's speech to the whole...
Gorilla,
the gorilla, man. man, I'm gonna misquote him, but I remember him saying basically like, men, we lost, Kessler, we lost Libby, but we killed 700 of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the dude was just an incredible battalion commander, and I
He
think
likes to punch you in the chest a lot, but yeah.
he was one of the only guys I've ever met that pronounced my first name right the first time I ever met him.
And he doesn't forget you.
No, which is not the only way you want to
curl
curl
it
it
up.
half.
No, but I mean, it was like a good thing, because I remember one time I was like, oh, hey, babe, that's Colonel Carilla. He walked over, he's like, Chavez! And I'm like, damn, bro, in front of my wife.
Yeah, bro.
Now he's a SETCOM commander over here.
Yeah. So we had him, and we started getting everybody filtering in from the rest of the platoons to stand up Deco. And so the first training cycle we did, everybody called us Dark Company because we came to work when it was dark and we left when it was dark every time. And we just worked our asses off to be ready for that first deployment. We had a lot of people that wanted to prove that Deco could be done. I know this is an unpopular thing to say. A lot of people got rid of their shit bags and sent them to Deco, which...
Oh, you're right. No, well, nobody's going to send you their all-stars.
They did. There's guys that did send all-stars. It wasn't like every... And I want to make this very clear. I disagree that we got, like, the guys that they wanted to get rid of. Because we had very few guys that once we got them weren't, like, fucking there, right?
Well,
we
with
worked
that being
our asses
said,
off. Yeah.
our dudes... Bro, no matter how badass you are in Ranger Regiment, you're not badass. So
yeah.
Our dudes who are
You're only as good as your last op.
the one that they leave, they send is still a bad motherfucker.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
That's why
100%.
that unit was right down the road that got all our DUIs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was basically
they were dope.
I was like,
dudes,
they
man.
would fuck the 82nd up. Dude.
Yeah, they were pretty
Yeah.
agile, man. Yeah, when we first set up that company, we kind of like you'd hear the snickering and jeering like, "Oh, you're in Deco, douche company," all this other shit. And you're like, all right, guys. All right, motherfuckers. And so our very first deployment, what happens? We had a Medal of Honor recipient. Chris Gathercole makes the ultimate sacrifice to take the fight to the enemy. We lost a dog in that same op, unfortunately. That was 2 Delta. There was some heroic shit done by some amazing men on that night. A lot of sacrifices and blood made, and I think that is...
Were you out there with Petrie?
No, I wasn't on that mission. I'll never forget, I was watching the ISR feed for the whole thing in the JOC at JBAD, and I had Sergeant Major Glenn Legg and Chaplain Strucker in the room with us when it was going down. And so we were all watching the objective unfold, and we were listening to the radio traffic, and then I heard the battle roster caught up, and I knew that Chris had passed. But yeah, I don't know which worse, watching it on TV or being there.
So your first deployment was right after my last deployment. Because Petrie was with me in ACO, and then he was a weapon squad leader, and then we did some shit.
Yeah, I think on that mission,
and then after that he went to you guys, and I was teaching at the JTech schoolhouse in Vegas for a regiment.
Yeah, I can't remember what squad he was in, but that was 2 Delta that did that mission.
Okay.
And I did a return mission to that compound some days later with 2 Delta. As the first platoon medic, we kind of all clamshelled for a minute, and I bounced over. We went on a half, kind of went back to go look at the compound, which was empty, and then it was really kind of a dry hole. But only a handful of days earlier, it was hell on earth there. It's very weird. You go from a place that's so chaotic and it's quiet. It's like a normal house again. Yeah. But
insane.
Yeah, war's crazy, right? But yeah, man, Deco was the best thing that ever happened to me, man. I loved it.
Were you with Deco the whole rest of the time?
The whole time, man. I was a senior medic when I left the company, which is the greatest honor I've ever had as an NCO, to be able to lead the best medics. I'm biased, but I know when I was a senior medic for Deco, I was fortunate to have the best platoon medics I think that any company at 275 could have had at the time. I had practically every medic that worked for me as a junior medic is a physician now.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like an EMT. That's all I am. Yeah, they're incredible dudes, man.
Always make me so proud, man. I love seeing Rangers succeed, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how we get some of these old dudes who are just grumpy, but I'm just like, when I see Rangers succeed, man, it just my heart just like and again, I'm sure my viewers are sick of hearing it, but my son is an E7 at 275.
Is he an E7?
You know he's an E7 now. Yeah, he's the dog daddy.
What?
Yeah, and what's funny is that when I deployed with him the last time in Bagram, the dog that was fighting with him is his pet. And when me and my wife went down there to see my grandson, I was like, babe, just so you know, Andrew's kind of different. Like, I could never get a good picture with him because my son would have to like do shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, because he meant a lot to me. Because I'm like, this dog is protecting my son.
Yeah.
And I'm having to watch him on fucking ISR, leading, knowing that he's going through ISIS territory.
I couldn't watch my child.
Oh my God, dude.
I couldn't watch my child do that.
I made a mistake volunteering to go with them on that one. Trust me, because I'm a civilian.
So
I didn't have to
you
do
went
that.
with your son to combat?
Yeah.
Was that like...
We got in a gunfight in Bagram.
Is it as awful as I think it is?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Except for the gunfight in Bagram, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But, so I was going with 375, but I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to go with my son at 275. And so I deployed, and it's all fun and games till they get their mission, and I'm loading all their shit, and it's my son's route that he's doing. And I'm just putting it together. And I'm kind of looking at it because I still got Ranger in me, and I'm just looking at the low ground and the high ground. And I'm just like, and then I'm just sitting there watching it, man. And then when you see gunfire or anything like that, and it's just like, you know, you got this fucking outpost shooting at them, and I'm so angry because I'm just like, fucking blow these dudes up, man. I know they know they're fucking. It's nighttime, you know, and of course, it changed, man.
Yeah,
when we left it changed. It was like when fire missions go back to the jock, it fucks everything up. Yeah. I missed my day when we'd blow shit up, and then, hey man, be advised we engaged building 12 with 105, or hey, be advised we dropped a 500 pounder this location, blah blah. When you have to ask permission, you got a bunch of dudes who have too much college, trying to figure shit out. And be like, bullets are fucking flying, bro.
Yeah, they're trying.
If something would have happened to my son, I'd have lost my shit, bro. I would have been in jail.
Well, how else are they going to get a BSM?
Yeah,
how else are they going to get a BSM?
You're right.
Yeah.
But anyways,
close with them straight.
That was miserable, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, Optai's a grown ass man, and I can't tell my wife about what's happening because we can't talk about our shit.
Yeah.
So I'd go to when he got back on mission, dude. I'd go in there, I'd fucking cry myself to sleep, dude, because I can't let you walk outside and get in a fist fight. But now I'm sending my son to a gunfight. Mm-hmm. But when we got attacked in Bagram, and they blew our shit up, fucking knocked my windows out, knocked my son shit. He was a 2,000 or 2,500 pound V bid with 7 assaulters.
Oh shit.
That was awesome.
Spicy meatballs.
Because once I got up, I'm like, no shirt on. First of all, you know I like doing.
Yeah.
So I'm running around no shirt and a Ben Diesel jacket.
Covered in CLP.
Ben Diesel jacket and fucking, you know, I got, you know, everybody's handing me, whatever. But once I see my son, once I make sure my son's good and he's with his team and just watching the dudes on, you know, doing their things here and Ranger doing their thing here, Ranger doing this shit. And I look over and I see Archer back. You know.
Oh yeah, man. I don't know that name.
I see Archer back, and we're just looking at each other, just like there's this shit going on, and dude, we've been doing this so long. You know what I mean? We just look at each other and are just smiling. He was my son's first sergeant. No. Bach was my son's first sergeant. He was my son's second first sergeant. But these were his uncles.
Sure.
When he was younger, you know, before.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
And another thing is, I challenge anybody to find, even if the same year, I'll take it. But 2012. I had an officer look this up afterwards, and he couldn't find anybody. But I think me and my son were the first father and son to wear the tab, or to wear the scroll and the beret at the same time, while still active.
Oh, shit.
After that, Ballesteros and them came around with, and then Poliots, you know. But before that, it was me and my son.
Yeah, I remember when your son finally made it through RASP.
Yeah.
And I remember like, oh yeah,
we threw that big
God. Like,
yeah, when he was going, all the wives, all his aunts,
God, he was a private like yesterday. How are you in E7, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane,
We're
bro.
old. We're old.
I know. But yeah, man. So, and the reason I asked is because I've been in a shit ton of gunfights, and I've been fortunate enough to where, just the way the shit went down, and I mean, I feel like I did a pretty good job with how I had my sensors set up.
Yeah.
So if there was anything crazy, I would just engage that shit before it became a problem. If a house started firing at us,
NAIs
we would just make sure that we hit them so hard that nobody else wanted to do anything. So I didn't have to deal with all the buddies I lost were in other areas. I didn't have to watch my buddy die next to me.
Sure.
So were you ever in a scenario where you had to like actually work on a casualty?
Yeah. I will say that I was fortunate that I never had anybody in my platoon that got seriously injured. So I was extremely fortunate as far as Ranger medics go that I never had to really do my job to an eagle on target. I had more than a handful of local nationals that got some pretty serious boo-boos. My first dead guy in Afghanistan got hit with a A10. So it was basically salsa. That was pretty easy. I was like, got that one. We're good. I'm not even gonna bother picking him up.
Yeah.
But no, I was fortunate that I never had to, fight to keep my roommate alive.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of medics that I don't think people understand had to do some shit that, if you think about it, being a ranger medic is the greatest job in regiment. It absolutely is. I had the best job on earth. I was able to take care of dudes. I had the most deserving patients, or just group of guys that needed the most caring, medics that carried, right? Versus if you're a regular fireman or a paramedic on the street, you're picking up dudes, you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They're calling 911 for toothaches and shit. A ranger is not going to come to you until it's fallen off. Hey doc, I need you to finally look at this. And no shit.
Yeah.
And I loved that I was able to be, it was not just, being a medic is more than just band-aids and pills, man. You're sometimes their counselor. And
you're like mom, dude.
Yeah, in a weird way, right? You can be there someone's medic or you can be their doc.
And I've never seen a medic suffering. As much as the craziest, and I know they are, as crazy as the shit is, and everybody's walking with IVs, and you're just fucking everybody's sucking. And for Rangers to be sucking, as in good shape we were, you're through some bad shit. And I look over, and Doc's just and running back and forth, man, you good? Blah, blah, you good? And it's just dude, how the fuck?
I loved it, man, because, it was little stuff. When I covered down in, when I was in Sock Hold, and I would do a RIP class, or a pre-ranger class especially, they've been out there for 10 days. They're out of Copenhagen. On day 4, right?
That's
they're in patrol bases,
cool.
chewing.
Which, by the way, they don't even do that anymore, which is ridiculous. It's hard to find this in Regiment. You know how hard it was to find a spitter when I was doing the civilian?
That's because they're on this, baby. They're on the Zen train. Get on it,
dude. I'm just before you could just walk in. You didn't even have to take a spitter with you. You go in the next room. There's
I was a can of Copenhagen a day chewer for almost 20 years, and then I went into this on Ash Wednesday 2 years ago, and I've never gone back. But it's so crazy to see. Yeah, little things have changed. Doing the medic stuff, you get out there and you be able to give them nicotine. I would go out there and bring these dudes rolls of Copenhagen. They're in the patrol base, they're doing foot checks. Here you go.
That's amazing.
Why not? Why the fuck not?
Well, that's what Patton said. When they asked Patton, they're what's it going to take for you to win the war? They're thinking some tanks or whatever. He's nicotine.
Yeah.
Nicotine and tobacco. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Because it's morale, man. When you're sitting there and you're freezing, you're tired, or you're getting ready fuck, we're about to go out in 45 minutes. This looks like a dangerous spot. But then you take that, you put that dip in, it's your sense of
all right, fuck it.
It's hard to explain, man. You can't explain it to people.
Yeah, don't ever start it if you haven't started.
Yeah,
for all you
don't.
dudes that are watching this and
don't
thinking about being a ranger one day,
don't do it.
Under no circumstances should you start chewing, because once you start, you are completely committed to it for forever.
Yeah.
And it's an extremely expensive habit, especially if you live in California, like my dumbass. For now. But with the medic thing, it's, we would treat boo-boos, and we would, but we'd be their counselors too. You can be their medic or you can be the doc, right? You can be a medic that's just fucking here, or you can be the doc, right? That gives a shit. And I did more sutures on my kitchen table at 2:30 in the morning in my ranger panties with a headlamp on, suturing some dude's forehead shut from a bar fight at the Swiss than I ever did at the battalion aid station. Yeah. And I kept lac trays and lidocaine in my house because I house calls, man. Yeah. You gotta be able to do house calls.
And when I got out, that was I was probably the biggest pain in the ass for the medical community outside of the military, because I'm expecting to go there and just get what the fuck I need. I gotta follow all these bullshit rules. Because normally I'd be hey doc, I'm going through this, and that. He's cool, come here, I'll give you an IV. Or hey, take this. Or you can't sleep? Oh, here's some of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys, you're so trusted. You get away with a lot because you're there to take care of us.
Well, the thing that makes medics in regiment more unique, I think, than most, is because we AAR the shit out of everything. No matter what you did, if you had to do anything mildly invasive for a patient, especially overseas, you had to write a narrative up. We want a narrative written up, and we want not just a medical soap note, but all right, so here we were, it was 11:30 at night, we were walking an uneven terrain, Joe Schmecatelli fell over, knocked his forehead over, got unconscious, had to give him a chest tube or an ET tube, I got missing in the tube, so I knew it was patent. That's how detailed they wanted it. And you got to consider, we've done how many TCCC committees since I sat there in 06 when they did theirs. So much has changed because we are constantly reviewing our work, whereas a lot of these other units, they're not doing as much of their own AARs, and they're relying so much on regiments. So Regiment just AAR'd things into the ground, and not to a point where it was like problematic, clearly, but that's what I think people fail to understand. Is like we really worked to be this proficient.
Absolutely. For you young men out there looking to do certain things, I know I get questions about calling in airstrikes or being shooters and stuff like that. And it's always like, well, it's all about what you want to do. When it comes to the medical side, I hands down recommend to go in the Ranger Medics because I mean they get the same training as all the best, and they're held to a standard.
And it doesn't have to be your last stop. You can go and finish the 18 Delta course, and you would already be, any SF guy that is not going to be full of crap will tell you if they got a dude that came from Regiment and eventually went through the SFAS and became a Green Beret. Those were some of the most squared away Green Berets ever because they had such a good baseline to build off of from Regiment. Like the perfect infantryman. Yeah. Now you give him a funny hat and a longer tab, and he's that much more of an NCO that's capable. And like the medics that are Ranger medics become 18 Deltas. They're just that much. It's the same thing, right? So imagine 11 Bravo from Regiment going to become an 18 Bravo. That's gonna be one of the baddest 18 Bravos ever live, right? Yeah. So.
I think it's just amazing. It's a lot of the stuff our boys do, and the community in general, and like you like to say, I'm very biased. I've had a chance to work with all the top tiers, and even our top tier, love them to death, they're amazing, but I still always felt more comfortable with our guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, and with that being said, you and I are training every day. I'd rather it be you. Don't get it twisted if, Big Brother comes up and grabs me, we're going in. I'm not going to be worried about it.
We're going to go do some stuff.
And there's a reason why, they get better pro pay. I mean, those dudes, they get more money to throw bullets down range. And that's what it comes down to. And that's why I give a lot of shit to the Marine Corps and I fuck around with them. But it's a love. Like I love the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I think those dudes. Like
I think Marines.
I'll tell you right now, bro.
Dudes in the world.
If I had 4 Marines, just give them 4 Marine infantrymen. It's gotta be infantrymen. I'm not an all Marine or infantryman guy. But
I am.
You give me 4 Marine infantrymen, and give me like 3 days, I'll fight with them.
100%.
Because I know they're not gonna quit. I know they're not gonna give up, and I legitimately think they're amazing. But at the end of the day, and this is what bothers me about our advertisement, because they get all these fucking studs, bro.
Mm.
And but you can take a stud and an average dude, and we'll just make it real simple. If I pay $500 a year to train this stud,
mm-hmm.
and $1 million to train this average dude, who's gonna end up better?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The Rangers, the money we get when I was in, I don't know if it was still when you were there. Even our cooks had to go through the same stuff as we did.
Oh yeah,
our cooks. I got rescued by our cooks. My very first mission, I went down
I
in
knew
the
more
bird.
than one cook with a Ranger tab. You know what I mean? I knew a lot of dudes without Ranger tabs.
You know what I think? I think, to be honest with you, I think they got rid of the cook program because a lot of the cooks would get their Ranger tab and then go 11 Bravo.
Yeah, they all wanted to go fight.
Mm-hmm. But they would go through all the same shit as we did. They would have to go through, obviously RIP, because it was RIP. I don't think they had them when they were RASP. I can't remember. But when there was RIP, but those boys were slinging more rounds down range than infantry in any unit. So and a lot of the freaking platoon sergeant stuff would be like, "Hey man, come out with us." And
we put them on the guns. Yeah, we put them in the turrets.
And they
dude, shit up, man.
Oh yeah.
Get a cook behind a crow's system in Iraq with nothing else to do.
Yeah.
I can see in the dark.
Yeah. And I trusted them. And the same thing. If they grab me on the side and we're going in, I'd fucking trust them.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. On top of everything else we talked about, first of all, I appreciate you coming down here.
I can't think.
I gotta tell you, man. When I was talking to you, you came here as a friend to me, but you say the same thing as every guest I have on here, that you haven't done anything special, and I get it. You don't have a Silver Star or Bronze Star or Soldier Medal or anything like that.
Get the Army PT award though. What's up?
You did get the Army PT award
twice.
but that's good for us, man, because for us to get an award, some really serious shit has to happen. And if, like, I've read some of these awards and I'm just kind of like, well, that was just like a normal op. But for us, that's doing our job.
Yeah.
As long as we don't lose anybody, and you won't hear shit about Rangers unless people are killed. You'll hear special operations soldiers did this, special operations soldiers did that. So there's this pride thing that we have, and there's this, we're not used to speaking out. So I know you came here for me. You didn't come here to boast or anything, and you were just kind of like, I don't have this. Yeah, I get it. You didn't have to save 7 people's lives and run up a hill and where you were getting shot in the butt. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you were Doc. Yeah. And a lot of Rangers went on objectives knowing that you had their back. But so what I want to do for you is, and kind of for me, if my wife's listening, is talk about what you're doing now. And you're working for Maximum Defense.
Yeah.
And before we get into what you're doing, I'm going to go ahead and let you critique. I'm probably going to hurt my feelings, but I'm going to let you critique my home defense weapon and my carry. Now, my home defense weapon, I usually carry some Peltors, but let's be honest, the chances are, and you see the way my lineup's set up here, my daughter's already in range of fire, so I'm not going to have time to grab Peltors. I'm going to try to beat them before they get to the stairway, and then you go from, there's something different than going on an objective, coming in on some little birds knowing you're about to get some shit, than waking up and your wife going, Eddie, 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 Eddie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just, and then you shoot, and then all of a sudden your ears ringing. As you can see, there's no silence or anything here. But the first one, I'll show you my home defense, which I like a lot. But I know it's not what I want. It's not a 300 blackout or anything like that. But this is my Scorpion. I originally wanted an MP5.
Sure.
But I'm going to be honest.
Everyone wants an MP5.
But you know why I wanted an MP5? Let's see if you can guess.
Because of heat or
Nope, close.
Because of SEALs. Charlie Sheen.
Nope. No.
That's a good one, dude.
Die Hard,
Charlie
bro.
Sheen,
Die
Navy
Hard.
SEALs is Die Hard.
Die Hard, bro.
That's
Come
a
on.
Beretta guy too, man. That's
Yeah.
made the Beretta M9 so famous.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
know. That's the same reason I wanted the Beretta.
John Wick sent the Benelli M4 up the roof as far as sales. And Blanton's whiskey, just because it was in John Wick, became impossible to find. Yeah, it's weird what movies will do to a product.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it was all awesome because I do like the little green dot in here, which we didn't have, which was amazing. And I have my cool little tack light. And I mean, it's a good system. I'm always loaded, ready to go. And the recoil is awesome and all that. That being said, I know you got something that would put this to shame that I really, really want. That's in 300 blackout.
Thank you. Yeah, so what you got here is CZ Scorpion, 9mm. People call these like PDWs, personal defense weapons. Kind of, it's a term that doesn't really have a true definition. And Asian K makes the MP7, shoots 4.6, and that's considered a PDW. That gun was made for rear echelon folks that aren't normally carrying around combat rifles.
Really?
But NSW and a couple of SMUs, they definitely just loved it because it was great for like sniper Overwatch teams and other enablers. Sense, yeah. But ask anyone that's ever shot anybody with 4.6, ask them how many times they had to shoot him to kill him. Yeah, thanks. Give your medic like a lot less work.
It's at least half a mag in Modern Warfare.
Yeah. Yeah. Aaron from Admin Results did a really funny video on the MP7. The zombie came in and he dumped a whole mag. Oh, he's still alive. But so with Maximum Defense, we started off making pistol braces and stocks 10 years ago, and in 2019 we went after a SOCOM solicitation for a PDW, and we made the Maximum Defense PDX. So the PDX is a 5.5-inch barrel, comes in 5.56, 7.62 by 39, and 300 blackout. That gun did not win that solicitation, unfortunately, but we won Best in its class at SHOT Show for Recoil Magazine that year, which sent us to the sky. Wow. So ever since then, we've been building guns everywhere from 5.5 inches all the way to normal 16-inch carbine. We make DMRs, 6.5 Creedmoor, 308 proof barrels. Everything on those guns that you wanted to soup up with, and eventually we did it for you. Geissele triggers, Radiant, ambidextrous stuff. And then now, Maximum Defense, we make suppressors. And so for us, we like to suppress 300 blackouts, right? So 300 blackout is kind of a round that's been around for a while. It's not widely adopted necessarily by law enforcement and military units, nearly as much as 5.56 or 308 is, of course. But you are seeing more and more law enforcement agencies, European law enforcement agencies and militaries going to 300 blackout because you're shooting somebody with a 30 caliber bullet versus a souped up 22.
Yeah.
And it's going to have more grain weight to it. When it comes to damage on a target, the most important factor when it comes to projectile is velocity. 5.56 is always going to scream faster than 300 blackout. A 300 blackout is not going to be a whole hell of a lot faster than like 9 mil. It will be, but not by a lot. 300 blackout is great to suppress. The longer the barrel, the better the suppression is going to be. The shorter the barrel, it's still going to be louder. So imagine a suppressor is just a muffler in a car. That's all it is.
Which, by the way, there's no such thing as a silencer.
Yeah, there's no
They're all
such thing as a
suppressors.
silencer. We make a 22 caliber suppressor that we put on a Ruger Mark IV that is the closest thing that I've ever heard to being completely quiet. The only thing you hear is the action cycling and then the projectile papping the paper. Like the staple gun you use to hang the target's louder than the gun.
I got a cool story to tell about that I'll tell you after we're done with this.
Sure. But yeah, so we got, you got your Hollow Sun because you like to give your money to the Chinese People's Liberation Army, and you have your TLR 1 because you also still like to give your money to the PLA. But it's good. So like a good home defense weapon is always going to have, if we're going to prioritize spending money to build out not just a gun but your own personal kit, right? Like you don't need night vision before you even have a light on your gun. Right? So guys are going to sit there and dump 15 grand on duels or 5 grand on a single tube. Dude, you can't even like see where you're going to begin with. Mm-hmm. So when we want to start prioritizing what we're going to build our guns out with, we want to get like the sling, the light, and then the optic. People, if you disagree with that, leave a message in the comment section. Help us out, beat the algorithms, interact. But yeah, some folks will tell you that like the optic doesn't matter. Those people don't shoot their guns.
Yeah, exactly.
There is that buy once, cry once mentality, and it's the truth. There are extraordinarily crappy optics out there, and there are ones that are incredible that made the stuff that we had back when we were in, which was the most advanced stuff, just dusted. I mean, almost everything on this gun, even if it is Chinese, just the optics, just electronics, and check. It would be that this gun honestly is probably more advanced than most of the shit we still actually had back in the day. Yeah. We were running like those duckbill EOTechs. The EOTechs technology's changed so much. I mean, the optics that exists out there, there's so many options. Even night vision has changed so much. Where, back when we were in, we do so much of our aiming with our laser and our illuminator to see where we're going and doing our thing. But now with near peer adversary stuff happening in Ukraine. Which I was in Ukraine for the invasion, and that was an entirely different experience to be on the business end of someone else's invasion. Not just anyone's invasion, but like the whole reason America had its MTO for the last 70 years.
And they're coming at you, they're like, if they
every
die,
jet is not yours.
Die.
Yeah, that jet's got a bomb on it that's designed to kill an American. Like, fantastic. There's no help coming. Yeah, self-extract. So when we're talking about home defense guns, 9mm, there's nothing wrong with 9mm. The technology that is in 9mm projectiles these days, 9mm is an exceptionally lethal round. There's a lot of really, really good tech out there. I would rather shoot somebody with a 300 blackout than a 9mm because the 300 blackout, especially if you're shooting subs are going to be fatter bullet, heavier. So you're going to have more mass, some more density. Certain ammo will obviously blossom and mushroom out. So if you have hollow points that slow down, right, cause drag, versus like green tip, which is going to go through everybody's shit, right? 300 blackout is going to have great stopping power. 300 blackout has limitations, specifically distance. Your barrel length is going to ultimately dictate how your projectile operates. Throwing a suppressor on your gun makes your gun work better. You do have to make some adjustments to guns. You can't just suppress them and just walk away because you are changing the mechanics of the firearm. But the gun will cycle, once you've got it tuned right, it'll cycle better. You'll have faster bullet velocities because you're keeping the dwell time of the gases in the tube longer, right? It's a longer straw now. They're not by default more accurate, but often they'll be more accurate over those distances with the suppressors.
So if I was to put a suppressor on here, I'm going to go through all that. But if I purchase a weapon with your suppressors from you guys, all that shit's gonna be done, right?
So we sell guns with suppressors and we sell guns without suppressors, right? The ones that come with suppressors, those suppressors are dedicated to the gun itself. The can is specifically tuned. The gun is specifically tuned to run only with a can. So the can, if you were to remove it, which you could, the gun's not going to cycle for certain models that we make. Then we also have our normal, rifles, and then you just buy a maximum defense suppressor, and then you throw it on our gun, and you just go to work. Okay. There's minor things that you need to consider if you're going to shoot. If we're staying on the subject of 300 blackout, your buffer weight is going to need to be adjusted when you transition between subsonics, supersonics, and suppressed work and unsuppressed work. You're going to have to consider that, just because you throw a can on this thing, it's going to work every time. Yeah. There are things that you have to take into consideration, like the bolt speed. The bolt should be going about 200 inches a second. There's not a lot of inches to play with on that speed variable that would start to cause the damage. So it is an art to get your gun running the way you want it to.
Now, the reason I was looking at, because I have a 300 blackout with an 18-inch barrel. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, granted, it's not a sniper rifle. You know what I mean? But if I was for some
18
reason...
18-inch barrel and a 300 blackout?
Yeah. So if I was going to be... It was a buddy of mine made it for me. So if I was out in the woods and I'm shooting at dudes, 300 meters and stuff, I'm not worried about it. But I wanted something that I can use for in-house, in a vehicle, zombie apocalypse shit. We're on the run.
Sure.
For some reason, and dude, countless gunfights I've been in, and I think the longest shot I ever took, granted mine was as many times as I've deployed to Afghanistan, I've never had to engage a target with my M4. So all my rest of my damn deployments in Iraq, I want to say my longest shot was probably maybe 120 yards, but for the most part, it wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable. And if I want anything bigger than that, I would get a bigger gun. I'd get an ACOG. I just love the ACOG.
There's nothing wrong with ACOG.
I love the ACOG.
Trijicon makes exceptional optics.
Yeah. I just love the ACOG because that was
That's
my thing, man.
Make
I just
the
love
ACOG
that
work.
thing.
They do it.
And and now the ACOG's even got the little light too. Back then I had to just kind of memorize and get used to my eye focus.
Yeah.
But now it's got like a little fucking.
And you can also put like a Trijicon RMR on the top too.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about near peer adversary stuff with night vision work, you don't want to be using your laser illuminator, right, to give away your position. Absolutely. So being able to do passive aiming over your glass with your night vision still and be able to acquire and hit targets effectively has been really, really interesting advancement in the warfighter shit that's out there.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So if I was to get, your smaller version, your home version, how long is the actual? I can't remember from the tip of the suppressor to the to it being extended is what
So the PDX SD, which is going to be our PDX that has the can,
which you'll see a picture on here for the video.
That is going to be with the buttstock collapsed, end to end, 23.75 inches long.
Okay.
The PDX without a suppressor is going to be 18 and 3/4 inches long, end to end collapsed. So backpacks, saddlebags, school resource officers, EP work. Would I take a 5.5 inch AR to the Tora Bora? Nope. Would I go clear every village in Afghanistan with it? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
We make these guns to out of the box hit people in the head with them. They have to work right out of the box. They're made for JSOC and SWAT teams, right? So the genesis for that gun is a lot of it's subterranean work. It's maritime work, right? Do you want to clear a boat with an 18-inch rifle, dude?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Hell no, right? You want to clear a boat with enough ass to get the job done, right?
Yeah.
Don't need a lot. So, a 5.5 inch barrel, 8.5, 10.3. Be a little nerd math here. The ballistic on 5.56, the increase in feet per second that you get from a barrel that's 10.3 only just to 11.5. That little amount of increase in your barrel length, I think it adds 300 feet per second. It's a massive jump going from 10.3 to 11.5. It is as much of a jump as going from 11.5 to 14.5 is. You get that much feet per second in just that little tiny spot. So if you ask me if you're picking between a 10.3 or an 11.5, I'm gonna go with an 11.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we got my my Chinese weapon rate,
It's a Czech. CZ makes
Hey,
badass
man, it was
guns.
that
Dude.
or an MP5,
CZs
bro.
are great guns, man. I don't know
I
what you're
fucking
talking.
love that gun.
I have Holostone
You
optics
watch your
and a
whole mouth.
and I have a TLR7 Streamlight. Okay, I am a hypocrite. But the best optic that I'm running is the Trijicon RMR or the RMR HD, which is insane and unobtainium right now. But the best flashlight I've run across so far is the Surefire X300 Turbo, and
Really?
emphasis on turbo. Like we can land airplanes. It's like sparkle.
Really?
It's huge, dude. It's
fucking
nasty.
insane.
Yeah.
So this is my carry,
Mhm.
and this is the MR920. My wife got this for me when I came back from one of my deployments.
Nice.
The thing I love about this is it's basically a Glock 19. It has all the same stuff as a Glock 19. It was like a few operators, you know, they played with these. I don't want to name. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to name drop other podcasts. There's a ranger out there who highly believes in this weapon here. The cool thing about it, I don't know if you ever played with one, is it's fucking light, and they did stiff stuff like gut some of the shit out of the Glock that didn't need to be added in here. It's already set to where you can add a dot, and so the screws are like this long.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. And even if it's iron, it's already got the nice little, you know, especially for people in my eyesight, you know, just the yellow tip and then black on the back. Nice trigger. I can make it a little lighter. It's already set up just like the normal Glock, where you can add a laser or light.
Sure.
But the ducktail it made longer because dudes with big hands.
Big. Yeah, it's huge.
Which I don't have. It's not my problem, but whatever. And then it comes with this, which I mean, you don't have to add this on, but I added mine on, and it's pretty.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing, it's pretty hard to miss a mag change. But honestly, the most impressive thing to me, which is the reason I have to wear underwear now, because I used to still go commando, because it rips you apart if you don't, is the aggressiveness on it.
Yeah.
Because when I'm at the range and I'm putting a bunch of rounds through, normally, you know, I got to take a break because my hands are sweaty or whatever. Dude, I don't give a shit if I'm doing push-ups or it's raining. It feels like the first time I gripped it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and to me, that's fucking phenomenal, because I have never been at the mall, and then I'll make a worst case scenario. You're at the mall with your daughter, and someone shoots. I mean, if I'm by myself, or again, if I'm going into a scenario, it's like, you know what I mean? It's no big deal. I'm ready. But I've never had to go from, you know, hanging out with my daughter to, oh shit, now I got to protect her life, and now my hands are sweaty or whatever.
Or blood.
Yep. And it's aggressive. And then the cool thing about this part is the back spot is you can change it to where if you like a Glock, it has the same grip if you like a
SIG.
1911 or SIG.
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean, that's pretty much my expertise on it, and I like it. It's already built for a can too, which I wouldn't add a can to this just because it's my carry. But check it out. You can blow that apart too if you want.
Yeah. You know what we're looking at here is a Trijicon, kind of earlier RMR.
It's a pretty big dot, but I am basically blind, so
No, it's fine. So like when you're going to select your dots, not every dot's gonna be the same size. So some dots are gonna be like 6 MOA, some dots are gonna be 3, 3.5, 1.5. This is probably 3.5 MOA. Usually says on the side there. Little bit of trivia. There's Bible quotes on Trijicons.
Is it really?
Yep. There's Bible verses on all of them.
Is there one on there?
Yep. What you've already done with this, which is not a normal Glock frame, but it's essentially looks like a Polymer 80 frame. It's not the name drop any one specific company, but it's kind of the same principle where it's very clearly you have a Glock 19, but it's not a Glock 19.
Yeah.
Right. So with me, I do the same thing. I take my Gen 3 Glocks because I can't have cool Glocks because I live in California, and I Dremel off my finger grooves. I put my undercuts in so I don't get, Glock knuckles, so I can get as much of a bite up on the gun as I can. I love that you got the dovetail, and I love that the back strap's really short. Front serrations are really nice. Yeah, this is perfect. It's the best way to wear your gun in is to shoot it.
Yeah.
People think that guns that don't have a wear in time don't have any idea what they're talking about. Should they have a wear in time? Yarsh. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I just have a mustache and I sell guns. But yeah, man, like I'm I'm not married to Glock by no means, but the only pistols I have are Glocks.
Yeah.
They're the AK of handguns, man. They're always gonna work.
Yeah.
It's like Harleys, right? Like when you're trying to convince a guy to buy a Harley for his first bike instead of Shadow or Victory or Indian, it's not that those are bad bikes. It's that the support network that exists for the Harleys is huge. So it's like Glocks. There's a million different people that make parts and upgrades for Glocks and SIGs and H&Ks and everybody else too, sure. But like Glock is going to have just way more of a support structure. Same with ARs. There's way more aftermarket parts and companies for ARs in the United States than AKs. I would love an AK. I have an AK. They're great guns. It sucks getting shot at by them. They're very good.
Yeah, it's not funny.
But to get into the weeds and soup your AK up the way that people soup their ARs up, that's only kind of become a more recent thing in the States in the last like 4 or 5 years, that people are starting to get some like rock star AKs. Like,
it's all about John Wick, bro. John Wick changed the community.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got Fuller out there making Fuller AKs in Phoenix. I mean, like, he makes some of the nastiest AKs like ever, dude.
Really?
Yeah, there's a guy I follow on, I'm gonna totally name drop him, named Bandito Bill. I follow him on Twitter and Instagram, and he's just this dude who just AKs it out in Arizona. Just super gorgeous builds. But AKs, again, it's a different bullet.
Yep.
There's not as much 7.62 by 39 laying around in the United States. If the balloon goes up tomorrow, as there is 5.56 and 2.23.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, that's so I think what we've learned here today is that my wife needs to let me buy one of your guns.
I think she should. She actually sent me a call and said you should buy one right now.
Oh, really? Did
yeah,
she
she
say
said
that?
it was all good.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
it's already cool. Yeah, it's already straight.
Sweet, just sign me up before she says anything and comes out of the room.
Yeah, you know, all of you guys that are listening to this too, Maximum Defense offers a very handsome discount for anyone that's a veteran, active duty, law enforcement, active duty military, fire EMS, or that's in the industry in general. So always reach out to info@maximumdefense.com or gov
And that'll be on the bottom.
@maximumdefense.com. I'm the only idiot that monitors that email inbox, and reach out to me and we'll show you guys kind of how to set that up on the website. So you always have your discounts on the website at all times.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming out, brother, man. It's been fun.
It's been great, dude. I'm super stoked to be here with you, man.
It's fucking awesome.
I can't believe I'm here at your house. Like, honestly,
I know.
it's great.
Yeah, all the other times we were together, we were riding motorcycles at 90 miles an hour side by side in the rain, doing stupid shit. I think we were way safer when we were not home.
Yeah, probably.
Than when we were,
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's
man,
interesting
I
shit,
appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man.
And I appreciate everybody continuing to watch. I'm excited. I got a crazy lineup coming up. Super stoked, and I appreciate the time. If you have any questions, or if you have anybody that you would like to see, please attach them to the bottom. Let me know. And if you have any recommendations, as you see, we're getting better with our quality as when we first started out. But again, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate the time. And yeah, y'all have a good one.